We are not calling wireless saying it's soca. I get very upset when people say, oh, wireless is a version of soca. Yuck. Symbiosis and ecosystems are very important. And I'm saying that to really signify how important it is when we have these kinds of discussions to include both academics and practitioners, so that we can have a combined effort in terms of how we move forward with institutionalizing what is wireless on a global scale, right? 7 foundational elements must, in my view at least, must be foundationalized if we're going to move forward with the education of the wireless platform within our schools. And I don't believe that we should be moving further than the seed. You feel me? Because we're here trying to build it in the industry. And then when we continue to build it in the industry, then our youngins in kindergarten and so are just going to grow up and be like, oh, yeah, that music, right? They don't know how to make it properly. And that is how we lose our identity. When we go fast forward with industry, and then all of these little children here are like, yeah, but they don't know how to make it properly. They don't know what the standardized version is. They don't know what the foundational elements are. So I think that is something that we need to institutionalize. We are not calling wireless saying it's soca. I get very upset when people say, oh, wireless is a version of soca. Yuck. Yuck, yuck, yuck. That was a common conversation that I had with my colleagues during my final year of college when we were talking about different cultural musical genres around the world, right? And a colleague from Trinidad who was like, well, y'all from Circus, y'all are just doing soca on a faster level. And I was like, well, when we look at the foundational elements of where wireless probably comes from, then we get into the conversation that Mr. Stanley spoke about in terms of string band and big drum music and how that is different. And another thing I want to point out is that we cannot separate music from the society and how the economy really builds artists and how artists compose and things like that, right? Trinidad and Tobago had a very heavy oil industry. So iron is a big thing, you feel me? That perhaps contributed a lot to how soca evolved from the calypso and all them things, and steel pan. We know more about string music, you understand? And this is why when you hear clank, diddy, clank, diddy, clank, diddy, clank, diddy, clank, and the Trinidad people go, pa-da-tap, and we are, you feel me? There has to be some kind of ancestral foundation and difference. So I like to argue as an academic that soca and wireless is not mother-child, it is not siblings, they are very distant cousins from the same plantation society. Somebody had mentioned the idea of a wireless monarch, right? And I understand why we say soca monarch, because it is marketable. You feel me? So if wireless monarch is too imaginative, perhaps we can do more within that space to highlight wireless segments within soca monarch or something else that will also add to what Carnival is doing to promote our musicians and bands and things like that.
That actually has a wing to it, wireless monarch.
Ain't it? I want to highlight a lot of the influencers that have been doing their job. People like Illy from Illy's Dance Clash. Y'all need to go and follow her, right? At Illy's Dance Clash. She integrates wireless into all of her choreography. That is the kind of social action that brings wireless to the fore in a lot of progressive manner. So yes, claps for Illy and all of the influencers that are continuing to do that. Integration, I believe, is going to be one of our biggest proponents in terms of how we truly promote the wireless music, right? I brought up a point earlier that Marshall Montano was a significant artist in how soca was seen and heard throughout a global sphere. And so you kind of have to meet people where they are. We know that wireless is distinctive to us. How do we then create pathways to then say, well, this is our sound, here's where we're meeting you, can we make a coalition of sorts? People, this is what music is, and we need to start labeling it as wireless and not soca, right? That is my biggest thing. All right, well, thank you so much for listening to me, those of you who did.
We appreciate your contribution.
Thank you very much.
And we know you wear many hats, academic and practitioner.